Okay, so I'm gonna talk more about the options people have when the New World Order starts kicking doors down or whatever pans out as a result of something similar to that. Like I said before, there's basically three options people have, and they're not mutually exclusive, so someone could do a mixture of all three, or two for that matter. One is you go out guns a-blazing and shoot the crap out of everyone, cowboy style, yeehaw, yippee-ki-yay, right? Option number two is you hide, or you prep and hide and save or whatever. You store up food, or you grow food, and you stay in your house, or uh, you have an escape plan with your bag, and you end up living in the village with Tarzan or something, and you're hunting, you know, rabbits in your loincloth with your bow and arrow or whatever. That's uh, I'm joking, but that's a very realistic option. Um, and I'm not denigrating either one. Then the third option is a little different than the first two, because the first two options have to do with prolonging your life here in this world. So those are very secular ways of looking at the world. I'm sorry, I'm just telling it like it is. Um, so if you look at the third option, that's where you worry more about praying more, and being in the spirit more, doing spiritual things, like trying to preach to people, reach out to people, like fasting, like me and Gary are doing today. Um, so and so it's a little different than the other three, the other two. So it's not like you can't do one or the other. They're not mutually exclusive. Like you can still pray and fast or whatever, and still shoot the intruder, and um, grow a plant and eat your sandwich or whatever it is you're going to do. So um, and I want everyone to know that if you're someone who plans to go out a shooting, and that's your strategy, um, I'm simplifying things, but you kind of know what I'm saying. I don't denigrate that. I don't say that that is a bad thing. I respect your decision to do that. If you're somebody that decides to hide and run, you're not going to get me calling them names like, "Oh, you're a pussy. You're running. You're hiding." You know, it's just another option. It's just a survival option. I get it. And so perhaps you could do a combination of those two. Like you could run and hide with your AK or your, whatever rifle you have, and bows and arrows or whatever else you got. And that way you could hide and shoot too, and you dress up like a bush or whatever the thing is. So, all right, no problem. Whatever, do what you got to do. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying I respect one's decision to make that choice up for themselves. Um, so, and um, but one of the things I'm thinking about is the third option, which is not secular like the first two, would be just to ramp up the prayers, ramp up the prayers, ramp up the fasting, like me and Gary are fasting today. Um, you know, uh, to go out and preach more and try to reach more people, etc. I personally think that option is the most important. Um, and sometimes when I talk to dudes about this, um, there's I get this feedback that is very knee-jerk reaction, meaning that like, well, if you are more into prayer than shooting somebody, then somehow, you know, you're not a man if you do that. And before I go any further, I've been in plenty of brawls in my time. I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared to die. I have full on faith. And believe me, I've been in plenty of scrapes in my life, brutal, brutal scrapes. So that is not something I shy away from. So I don't wear it on my badge and try to impress everybody to build my ego with it. But I mean, the way I look at it is like, if you have a penis, congratulations, you got a penis. I'm so fucking happy for you that you got a penis. Whoopee, woohoo, you got a penis. You're special. You and half the other fucking earth have a penis. So get over it, man. I mean, if you're gonna have a conversation with somebody, then you know, you need to like to respect the other person's point of view. It's not like this is not uh, um, a WWF cage match or whatever. It's just a conversation. And if you already have all the answers, then fine, share it with everybody. But I'm just not buying this idea that we're all going to go out guns a blazing. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, and I could be wrong. It's just and like I'm saying, I'm not anti-gun. And so if I had to use one, I probably would. So there's that. So I'm not discontinuing. I'm just not a big fan of this whole thing of like, you know, uh, well, because I'm an expert because I got a penis, and so I've got to tell you all about how I shoot guns with my teeth, and so if you preach to people, that somehow makes you, X, Y, and Z, and I just don't think that's a very healthy way of looking at this. I honestly, when it's going to really come down to this, um, I personally think it's more important to pray for people and follow the spiritual path than it is to worry about prolonging life here in this world. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, and if you look at the original apostles, um, if you were going to pick one of the original apostles to be that gun guy, um, and I mean that specifically is someone who is going. I don't mind, like I said, someone who's going to do the gun thing, and I get it. I understand. Like I said, I respect that. Um, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is about someone who's going to do that, but then somehow denigrate someone else who isn't, and then assume that it has to do with a lack of courage or fortitude or whatever. That would be like saying, if I use that logic, that'd be like saying, well, God's a pussy. I mean, look at Jesus. What a pussy that guy was. I mean, when they were going to take him away and he just went with them, to hell with that. I would have brushed out my AK and, my Glock or whatever and taken out the trash. And, you know, so it's just bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't invent the world. It's bullshit. So, grow up. I don't know what else to tell you. So, um, if I thought about the original apostles, the one guy who would have that mentality in my mind would have to be Peter. Peter's the guy who busts out the sword and cut off the ear of the soldier or whatever. And I'm sure at that night he was calling everyone a pussy and everything else. Why didn't you pull out the sword too like I did? Right? He was probably the biggest badass OG fucking everything else in the world. Tough, at least portraying that for everyone else's benefit. Look at me, look at me. You know, but if you remember, Peter, that badass, was the one who denied Christ 3 times. So that's what's really coming this way. So, so just remember that the biggest badass, and he knew Christ. He knew him like we all know him, but he felt him, like was there in the carnal existence. You can't get any closer than that. That's this, we've never gotten that close. I mean, people can say they have, but they haven't. So if that guy couldn't keep his faith up when the time comes, then you better pray that you do. So, and the other thing about the whole thing is this: is I've heard people talking for years about, I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to take my gun, rock hold in, bing bong, bing bong, bing bong, bing, right? But you know what? After all this time, they has just been slowly, incrementally taking control of this country, like the Federal Reserve, and wearing away our people's rights one by one. And you know what? Where's the gun guys at? Where's the grenade launchers? Why didn't you take out HARP? What? You didn't realize that HARP was bad all this time? Why don't you take out their weather control stuff? Why don't you fight your way into the inner tunnels? Where's go raid the Federal Reserve? Where's the gun guys? But as I hear all this talk, but like the truth of the matter is, all this time you guys, whatever you've done, and I'm putting you all collectively, maybe a few things here or there, but it's mostly been waiting for them to come to your house. Well, if they came into my house and they broke down my door, they'd be sorry, because I'm going to bust out my AK or whatever and have at it. So, but that's been like that for decades. And for decades and decades and decades, they've been slowly just tightening the vice on everybody, and nobody did nothing except for talk. Blah, 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 blah. Look at me, I'm a big man. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And now look where it's gotten us. Right? And so just spare me the rhetoric, is all I'm saying. If you want to have that viewpoint, fine. I respect it. But don't bring all the judgmental crap that comes with it, because ain't nobody done nothing all this time. And I'm just really just not a fan of that. Like, I can talk to someone else and respect their viewpoint and and differ with somebody on this. And I value where their insight's coming from. It's one thing to say, you know what, I'm going to go out gunslinging and that's, God and country, whatever. Fine. Good for you. I respect that. But what I don't respect is denigrating me for having a different opinion in the process and then putting a value judgment on it. Like, oh, well, you're not a man if you're not being stupid. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. You know what I mean? The apostles weren't either. When they went out into the world, they didn't go out, mad dogging somebody. That's not what happened. They, like with Stephen. Matter of fact, let's talk about Stephen for a second here. Stephen got stoned to death. As he was being stoned to death, he didn't go out like a Spartan and I'm going to take one of you with me. Instead, what he did was he prayed for his enemy as he was dying. So let's see how much you guys do that. Then you can tell me all about your penis. How's that sound? Now, how great you are, and you're a dude, and I'm not a dude, and you're a dude, and something, you got something special about you. That you're more of a dude than I am. Whatever. Just save me the fucking bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's like Stephen went out like a man. He died for what he believed in. And he prayed for his enemies to the death, even as they were stoning him. Matter of fact, the reason why you are even a Christian right now is because Stephen died. Because what happened is that changed Saul, who turned into Paul. I get that, like, he saw the Holy Ghost and all that. I get it. But anyone who doesn't get that Stephen had to do with that, then you're just not feeling it. So what happened was, because Saul, who turned into Paul, was moved by that whole thing and that love he had even to the death. That is what led to the Gentiles being preached to. That's why, we became Christians. So it wasn't because, so if that would have been different, and if Stephen would have said, you know what, I'm not going out like this, and started fighting back and throwing rocks back or whatever, it wouldn't have had the same impact that it had. So there's a reason for things. So, and I'm not buying this whole thing about, well, I get that there's different parts of the body of Christ. I get it. And I believe that for sure. What I don't buy, though, is that there's this group of manly men that are heroes. Because I'm a manly man myself. I'll fight someone. Fuck, I don't give a fine. If you want to fucking brawl, let's brawl, brother. Fucking bring it. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? But don't fucking give me this shit about, like, well, that you're the hero that's here to save the fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not a hero. You're not. You're not a leader. You're not a hero. You're not the fucking, the bronze man for all kind to please adulate you. You know what I'm saying? I don't respect that at all. It's like that part I don't like. The whole value thing that goes with this whole attitude. It's like, I'm not buying that. It's a spirit of pride. That's what that is. And if there is anyone who is a hero, it's nobody on this world. There only is one hero to me, and he's coming back, and it's not you. And if there is anyone to adulate and put on a pedestal, it's not you either. There's only one person who deserves that. So spare me the crap. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm just tired of it. So that end's coming. So if you want to go out guns a-blazing, you go for it. Go for it. I'm not saying that I might too, but just spare me the crap. If you want to disagree with me, that's one thing. I don't mind that. Tell me I'm wrong. But just spare me all this other crap that someone just got these baby boo-boo needs for attention and hey, look at me. I'm rough and I've been through things and where it's like, man, whatever. You think I haven't? You think anybody else, have you ever, what about all these women that have been raped and everything else? You think they haven't been through some shit? Fucking A, man. Grow up. And for, the whole thing is like, I think it's a spiritual war. This isn't a physical war. You're not gonna win this. I tell you one thing: a gun is not going to beat a tank. A gun is not going to beat a a tornado that they come up with, or a hurricane when they're messing with the weather control. I tell you what, it's also not going to help out when a drone takes you out from a mile up in the sky. You know what I'm saying? Or the kill bots, or mustard gas, or whatever else they're going to use, or the directed energy weapons. Like, you've seen the directed energy weapons in California. People probably burned alive, like they were in living hell on Earth. And if you think a shotgun or an AK is going to, or a Glock or whatever is going to get you out of that, I'm sure that sounds like impressive rhetoric when you look it in the mirror. But when you're actually doing it, just remember not to deny Christ 3 times.